Hey, welcome back to the show. We're keeping it real. Goes right. Welcome back to Real Take Sports Talk live here on YouTube. Welcome everyone who's watching and who will eventually watch the replay or the clips of this. We've got a good show planned for you, or I've got a good show planned for you today. It's going to be me riding solo today because unfortunately no one else can make it, but it's cool. I've done this before. We're going to do it one more time, and hopefully next time someone else will join me. And I know a few of you asked before or have asked me in between the last episode. Real Take Sports Talk is going to stay, but we're just going to try to keep churning this out as soon as we can. So hopefully by Monday or maybe next Thursday, I will have an idea of when we're going to be on weekly. But good show planned for you. So before we get started, though, be sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel for daily videos. We do Real Take Sports Talk, Real Take Russell Talk, and I got a few other projects in the works that I'm working on to try to get out. But I'll get to that at a later time, but we're going to get to Aaron Rodgers and his future with the Packers, Julio Jones as well, very similar situation there. Also going to be talking about the NBA playoffs, Knicks getting eliminated, the Hawks advancing, the Mavs and the Clippers series, which has really captivated a lot of the NBA universe right now, and much more. And again, before we get started, like, share, subscribe. We've got a lot to get to today. But we're going to start off on a bit of a serious note, and it's going to be about something that's been in the news quite a lot lately. So let's begin today by talking about, something serious that affects millions of people, including myself, every year, and that's mental health. So this week, four-time Grand Slam tennis champion Naomi Osaka made headlines when she decided to withdraw from the French Open. And to put this into context, this is arguably the best tennis player in the world right now, pulling out of what is an ongoing major championship tournament. So this is a bit of a big deal. So there's a reason why it made a lot of headlines and a lot of people really started talking about it. And Naomi Osaka cited her mental health as a reason for withdrawing. And early on, we saw a little bit of a sign of this early on in the tournament. She started making it known that she did not like doing media appearances after her matches, and those really took a toll on her mental health. And she's spoken very openly and very candidly about that, so I commend her for that. And she, at one point, said that she no longer will be doing that. In response to this, the French Open started fining her $15,000 for missed media appearances, which Osaka initially was okay with the fine, but later there was talk of possible expulsion from the tournament. And at that point, Naomi Osaka essentially decided to just take care of her mental health and just move on and withdrew from the tournament. Now, there's been a lot of reaction about this online. There's been a lot of reaction about this in the press, in the media. And I just want to initially say that anytime an athlete, like it doesn't matter whether you're an athlete, doesn't matter whether you're a regular person, mental health is going to hit you. Like these issues, these concerns are going to affect you. So, and that's one thing I think as fans, we always take for granted, right? We always take for granted, like, oh, these athletes, they're here for our entertainment. Right. But remember, they're people too. And just like normal people, they go through normal problems. So these are things that she's facing, and she's facing head on, it seems like. It's worth to note that she came out with a very lengthy statement about her dropping out and her withdrawing from the tournament. And she said it wasn't just the press. It wasn't just because the press was being mean to her. She actually cited members of the press who were very cordial and very nice to her. And she says she just feels like when she does these appearances, when she does these post-match press appearances, they just put her in a situation where she becomes extremely uncomfortable. And as an introvert, she's not used to that. She's not been... that's not something she is used to. That's not something she's comfortable with. And it takes a toll on her mental health. And I get that. I really get that. So I just want to initially say that I think anyone who's, blasting her or saying, like, man, she's this big, $1 million athlete, she has no reason to complain. No, that's pretty good reason to, not want to do something. If it affects your mental health, if you're stressed, if you're extremely stressed out about it and it affects you, off the field, off the court, then yeah, you should take that into account and you should take measures to, mitigate that. Now, I want to discuss the other issue here, and it's the criticism that she's faced from people who said that, you know, she's overreacting. And while I understand, I guess, why people would think that, again, it comes down to doing what's best for you. And what's best for her right now is to withdraw from the tournament and just take things as they come and kind of reevaluate where she is, not just physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever, right? And that's normal. She can do that. At the end of the day, it's her decision to do it. Like, we have no control over that. And lastly on this, there's this big question that's been brewing because of this. And Steph Curry has commented on it and other athletes as well. And it's the question of, should athletes be forced to do press after matches or after games? And I find myself very torn on this because on one hand, I do understand the athlete's perspective, which is, being put in a weird situation where you're after a game, after, a really emotional time, like during matches or during games, you are kind of put into the situation where you have to answer questions about what happened and, right then and there, without having that much time to process what was going on. So I understand that from the athlete's perspective, but for me, I kind of fall on this. I don't even want to say there's not really even two sides to this. I think this is just more of a nuanced topic for me. But I would say that when you become an athlete and you sign up for becoming a tennis player, you sign up for becoming a professional whatever athlete, right? When you sign up for that job, part of the spectacle, part of the job description is dealing with the media. And here's the thing. It's not just because of, it's not just because we want to pick these athletes apart. No. Because part of the reason that these big organizations, these companies, these sports leagues make these deals with the media for media appearances and whatnot is because it allows for the sport to grow. And so when you have all of these outlets, when you have all of these eyeballs on the product and, in the post-game media scrums or the post-game media appearances, that puts eyes on the product. That's how people, get interested in the product. That's part of the spectacle. Like understanding the athlete's perspective after a game or what was going on during the game. That is an important part of sports that has honestly been there for a very, very long time. So while I will say I sympathize, right? That doesn't mean that, people that I think athletes should be, immune to media appearances. But one thing we also have to understand, and I think the other part of this that I've thought about is, like in any job, there are going to be times where you're faced with, opportunities or moments where you're not going to be completely comfortable. Like me right now, like an hour ago before I went here, I didn't want to come on and do this. I you're tired. Especially after work all day or even at work, sometimes you're given tasks that you don't feel comfortable to do that might stress you out, that might, not be the best use of your time, but sometimes you still have to do them. And that's the other part of it. Now, where I think Osaka and Steph Curry have a point is this idea that, the French Open can expel you for not dealing with the media, aside from fining you. If it was just a fine, granted, $15,000 seems to me to be a lot of money to fine someone per appearance. But if it was just a fine, I would probably be more okay with it. But to expel an athlete for not talking to the media, I think that's overkill. And I think just like how in work, people have mental health days, I think that should be an option for athletes as well. It doesn't absolve you from every media opportunity, right? It doesn't, you can't skip everything, but I think it's up to the sports league and the athletes to work together on some sort of deal like this or some sort of compromise on this. And I think sports league should be more sympathetic because we've seen in the past, it's been very, just, oh, you don't want to do it? Well, you're fined. Well, we're not even going to talk about it. We're not going to discuss it further. And I think we need to have a more open discussion. I genuinely believe that. And that's me saying that I still think athletes should, be at media appearances, should make media appearances because it adds to the game and it makes people interested. It's part of the spectacle as a fan. You're interested to know what, Patrick Mahomes was thinking in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. You're interested to know what Tom Brady was thinking in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. You're interested to know what Naomi Osaka was thinking during her match. And again, it's up to her whether or not she wants to share that information, right? So I think there just needs to be maybe more communication between the leagues and the players. I think the way the French Open handled this, to be honest, I don't agree with it. Because again, trying to expel someone from the tournament, especially one of your best players from the tournament, for not wanting to talk to media for mental health reasons, seems kind of shitty to me. But yeah, that is what it is. And again, to Naomi Osaka, I just want to say her comments were incredibly thoughtful and insightful. I urge everyone to go out and read her statement on this. It was very thoughtful, very insightful, and honestly, it makes you think. It genuinely makes you think because she wasn't just, oh, well, no athlete should ever be forced to talk to media. No, she understood the media's role. And to see someone talk about it like that so candidly and so honestly, it's just it's very good to see, because you don't see a lot of honest and candid talks or discussion about especially issues like these in the world these days, let alone sports. So, huge big ups to Naomi Osaka. I hope that she finds peace. I hope that she finds some sort of resolution to whatever ails her, because she's a great athlete. She's a superstar, and she deserves to be her pain and her mental health deserves to be acknowledged, just like everyone else's does. So that's where I'll end it on that. And I really hope that there is, again, some sort of resolution that is good for everybody in that scenario. So with that, we'll move on to our next topic, and that is Julio Jones, the curious case of Julio Jones. The Falcons' Pro Bowl wide receiver has been rumored to be... Sorry. Broke up there for a second. The Falcons' Pro Bowl wide receiver Julio Jones has been rumored to be potentially traded very soon. And, this business has really picked up in the last few days. So Atlanta has asked teams that have inquired about Julio Jones for at least a first-round pick in return. Others around the leagues don't believe the Falcons will ultimately get a first-round pick for the Pro Bowl wide receiver. But there is speculation and there are reports that one team has offered a first-round pick. So that would really up the ante. One thing we did also find out is that the Falcons would prefer not to trade Jones to an NFC team, but would do so for the right price. So if you're an NFC team looking for a wide receiver, then let's say a Seattle, if you're the Seahawks and you're looking to add another wide receiver to your depth chart and you want to add a Julio Jones, you're going to have to up the ante a little bit. Man, just think about the Seahawks traded for Julio Jones. How much would they have to give up? How many draft picks would they have left? That's going to be a fun scenario to play out, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But, I think with the Julio Jones story, we need to focus on first what went wrong in Atlanta. What went wrong with Julio? What went wrong in Atlanta? What went wrong for this relationship? Because this was a team that in 2016 had an MVP quarterback. Julio Jones had arguably his best season, and he came very close to delivering Atlanta a Super Bowl. And it just seems that ever since then, this team has just been downhill. 7-9, really bad starts to the Atlanta Falcons over the past few years have become the kings of terrible starts to begin the season. And then, they go on a run where they end up tanking whatever draft stock they might have had. Which is it's reverse tanking. So it doesn't make any sense, right? But where I think the relationship went wrong was, I think, after that Super Bowl. I think there became a time where people in the organization, the Atlanta Falcons organization, became very, complacent with what was going on. And I think Julio Jones, for a long time, has wanted to go back to a Super Bowl. He's wanted to go back to being a contender. He's wanted to go back to being on one of the best teams in the NFL. And that hasn't been the case for the Falcons in a very long time, in almost 5 years. So, Julio Jones, I think it's prudent that he wants out. I think it's good that he wants out. He's 32 years old. He's not getting any younger. He's on what might be his last big contract. He still can produce, but he's been a little injury prone last few years. So even he knows his time is running out as this dominant wide receiver in the league. So if you're Julio Jones, right now is the perfect time to want out and to go chase a ring. Right now is the perfect time to want out and to go at least get a fresh start somewhere else. Because if we're being honest, nothing's going to happen in Atlanta for the next 2 to 3 years. If we're being honest, the Atlanta Falcons are in a complete rebuild mode. Yes, they still have Matt Ryan. Yes, they still currently have Julio Jones. But what else do they really have to build on? That defense is not going to get better next year. The other wide receivers, pretty good. But they're not Julio. Julio's already made it clear. He was on Undisputed. Shannon Sharpe called him live on Undisputed and asked him point blank, Julio, are you going to be in Atlanta next year? He said, nah, I'm out of there. Keeping it real, just like we do right here. But I don't blame Julio Jones for wanting out. I think it's good for him. It's a good decision for his career to want out because he's given the Falcons like a decade of his career, a decade of performance, a decade of dominance. And they got close to a Super Bowl. They weren't able to finish. And it's unfortunate because that was a great team in the Falcons that went on that run. That was a great team. Julio Jones, again, was playing some of the best ball of his career. Just didn't happen. Now, I do think that if you're a team looking for Julio, you have to be careful with, what you give up and the situation that you put yourself in. Like, let's say the Ravens. I'm a Ravens fan, and the reason that I have been very much against getting Julio from the get-go is because, one, the price it would take to get him, in my opinion, would be too much. The contract that he already is on, which is paying him somewhere around between, I believe, $16 to $20 million this year, and just the overall fit in the offense. I think Julio Jones would, and the Ravens offense would fit, like, that would not be a good connection for either team. Because I think Julio Jones needs to be in a place where they can throw the ball more often than Ravens do. And it's not a thing about, Lamar Jackson can't throw the ball. No, Lamar Jackson is arguably the most efficient passer in the NFL. That doesn't have anything to do with it at all. What it has to do with is the fact that the Ravens don't throw the ball enough because they don't need to, because they have such a great run game, because they have such a great dynamic player in Lamar Jackson. And that's what we need to remember. If you're a Ravens fan, especially, that's what you need to remember. I know the Ravens right now, the reports are that they are out on Julio Jones. It's not happening. And I'm happy it's not happening. Because, honestly, if we were going to trade away a first-round pick for Julio Jones or a second-round pick or whatever, or multiple picks for Julio Jones, I would have much rather have seen the Ravens trade up in the draft to get a young guy like Devonta Smith, who fell to number 10. I would have much rather preferred that than, going out and getting a 32-year-old Julio Jones on a pretty large contract that would be a weird scheme fit. Because I think Devonta Smith, the good thing about him would have been that it would have cost the Ravens in draft picks similar amount, but they would have had him for 5 years at least, and they would have had him for, very cheap. They also would have had him at a young age. And when you have a player like that at a young age and he's developing, that's when your offense can develop as well, because Julio Jones needs to be a plug-and-play guy, kind of. Julio Jones needs to be in an offense that already throws the ball a lot and that he can help dominate on. I just don't think that would have been the Ravens. which is why, as a fan, I'm happy that we're out on Julio Jones. Now, don't get me wrong. If we ended up getting him, I would have rooted for his success. I just would not have expected, the dominance that could have been on like another team. Like, imagine if Julio Jones went to the Chiefs. That Julio Jones is going to dominate because the Chiefs throw the ball like 35 to 40 times a game. It's just real. Just real. So another team that is potentially in the Julio Jones hunt are the New England Patriots. This is an interesting team. So the New England Patriots are potentially in the hunt for Julio Jones, and this could be, I think, a good fit. And it could only be a good fit, I think, if Mac Jones is the starting quarterback. If Mac Jones impresses people, which reports indicate that he is currently impressing people in training camp, he's impressing Bill Belichick, which, hey, that's a good thing. If Mac Jones is a starter day one, having Julio Jones on that team as a number one wide receiver is going to be very important in his development as a young quarterback, because it's going to give him a little bit more of a margin of error. It's going to give him like an all-time great talent to throw the ball to at such a young age. And it's going to allow that Patriots offense, I think, to open up a lot more. You're going to see the running game get more involved. I think you'll get a little bit more of the old Bill Belichick style of offense that we saw maybe with Tom Brady and, with this young quarterback in Mac Jones. And the other thing that it does is I think it allows for other people on the Patriots, other receivers, to have a bit more opportunities to grow and to progress. Nelson Aguilar is a name. And I know the joke is he's occasional hands Aguilar because, he drops everything that's in front of him, right? But the thing is, I think Aguilar, he's shown that there are times where he can be a productive receiver. I know the Patriots reports are saying that he's doing better, and Bill Belichick seems to be fine with him. So I think, and that's a place where I think Aguilar can develop and be a better wide receiver. So if Julio Jones comes in there, that means that there's going to be more attention paid by defenses to Julio Jones. There's going to be more attention paid to that matchup. Nelson Aguilar is going to be a little more open, maybe. Jonnu Smith is also on that team. They got that two-headed monster at tight end now in Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, two Pro Bowl tight ends. Those are some beasts right there. And if Julio Jones is on that team, that's a pretty impressive passing attack with just those three players. We don't even need to count Aguilar. And you got Mac Jones, like I said. And one thing about Mac Jones that I have not debated, I've been a little down on him in the draft process, right? But one thing I have not debated about Mac Jones is the fact that he's an accurate quarterback. Mac Jones is a very accurate quarterback in the intermediate throws and the short throws. Deep throws, I am more skeptical of because I've seen some of his deep passes and I've watched the tape, and it just seemed like sometimes he was kind of he was helped out by his wide receivers, which when you have two great wide receivers like Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith, yeah, I mean I'm not gonna hate, right? But I think that it's going to help Mac Jones, and that's the thing you want. You want to be able to help your young quarterback as much as you can early on so he has the confidence and he develops the ability to be more consistent. And having Julio Jones for the Patriots, I think if you're a team, I think the Patriots need Julio Jones the most out of all these teams that are vying for him, because that would immediately propel the Patriots into not a playoff contender, into the playoffs. I'm not saying they're going to win the division, but they would become a playoff team with a Julio Jones. You can book that. And again, this is contingent on Mac Jones being the guy who the Patriots are currently saying he is. We're going to have to see about that. But if I'm Bill Belichick, he already cashed in on free agency. He already spent more money than he's almost ever spent in free agency. You might as well just go out and spend some draft picks on Julio Jones and just take a shot, because Julio gives you the best shot to win. Point blank. Julio Jones gives the Patriots the best shot to win. And that's what it's about. And Bill Belichick is not getting any younger. That's what it's about for him. He's hearing all this talk about Tom Brady, Tom Brady, Tom Brady. Bill just wants to show them that it wasn't just Brady, that maybe he had a little bit something to do with it. Go out there, get Julio Jones, and prove it. The next team that is rumored to potentially have Julio Jones is the Seattle Seahawks. So the Seahawks are an interesting player in this game. They have Tyler Lockett. They have DK Metcalf, of course. Russell Wilson is their quarterback. They have arguably a good core, and Julio Jones would make that team better. Don't get me wrong. It would make that team better. The only thing is, I don't think Julio Jones is going to make that defense any better, right? And the Seahawks are a team that's already been depleted, especially in the draft. They had 3 draft picks, none of which were in the first round last year in this previous draft. They had 3. That is not good going into the season. That makes you rely more on the undrafted free agents. You have less of a choice of the rookies that you want. And, you need to be able to develop these guys. And the long-term question is, are those draft picks, it's the first-round draft picks. If you're the Seahawks, you're going to end up having to give up at least a first-round draft pick to get Julio Jones, point blank. Is that first-round draft pick that you get going to be worth more than what Julio Jones would be to your offense? I think if you're the Seahawks, the answer is yes, because the problems that the Seahawks have had on offense have not necessarily been with the receivers. Lockett was good. DK Metcalf is a beast already, dominant wide receiver. The problems that they've had are on their offensive line. Russell Wilson is running around looking for just an inch of space to throw the ball half the game. When you have that, when your quarterback doesn't have the protection that he needs, that puts him in a terrible situation. So if I was the Seahawks, I would offer a second-round pick. You're probably not going to get him for a second-round pick unless all these other first-round things are smoke screens. I would offer a second-round pick, but I'm not offering a first-round pick for Julio Jones because I truly believe in the long term you're better off using that pick to build on the offensive line or build somewhere else on younger talent on defense. I truly believe it's going to be worth more in the long run than Julio Jones would be. Because Julio Jones comes in. Okay, Julio Jones comes into the Seahawks. Okay, yeah, they're going to be better on offense. Is that going to put them over the top? Is this now a 100% top-notch Super Bowl contender? Are they really any different than they were last year? Like, honestly, tell me, Julio Jones is on that team. Are they really in a different position that are, at least in our minds, going into next year than they were last year? I happen to think not. I happen to think it's pretty close. Be better, but I don't think it's going to be good enough to, be up there with, the elites of the NFL. Not with the Bucks, not with the Chiefs, not with the Ravens. Maybe like maybe just below the Colts, which is basically where they were last year. At least in my mind. But y'all let me know what you think. Let's keep this going. I know I got a little negative there, but let's get some positivity. Let's inject some positivity into this show and talk about this amazing display of basketball that we've been seeing over the past few nights. Because I'm honestly really excited to talk about this. This is something that I'm very happy to talk about. I've been raving for like the past 3 years about Luka Doncic and about how people just need to wait. Just wait. I'm telling you, this guy is great. And Andrew, SMD, bro. Luka Doncic is amazing, and he is dominating this series. Let's talk about it. So, sorry about that. Now we move on to the first round series that everyone's talking about. The Mavericks and Luka Doncic currently lead the LA Clippers 3-2, and with the ability to close out the series on Friday, which is exactly what the Mavericks are looking to do. So the Clippers are on thin ice now. This has been a very, very weird series, and even by NBA standards currently. We've seen the home team lose all the games in this series. First two games were in first two games were in LA, rather. Clippers lost both those games. Next two games were in Dallas. Clippers won both those games. Last game was back in LA, and Luka Doncic dominated with 43 points, 14 assists, and 8 rebounds. Luka Doncic balled out like he's been balling out the entire series, and the Clippers can't stop him. They can't buy anyone to defend Luka. And one thing that I've noticed is this guy right here. You don't see him one-on-one against Luka a lot. You really don't. They've only had Patrick Beverley. They've only had, sometime playoff P over here on Luka Doncic. And at some point, you got to ask why. At some point, you have to ask why. Why is Kawhi Leonard not guarding Luka Doncic? Kawhi Leonard, the big thing about Kawhi Leonard that all Kawhi fans, including myself, have boasted for years, is the fact that Kawhi Leonard, pound for pound, is the best defender in the NBA. Kawhi is the best all-around player and the best scoring defender in the NBA. So that's what everyone is led to believe. That's what everyone does believe. And it's been true. It's been true. But what we seen last year against this Mavericks team, Kawhi really wasn't on Luka at all. And Luka was still dominating, even with a depleted supporting cast. He was still dominating. Still hit a game winner last year to win a game. The other thing that we've seen this year is Luka Doncic, multiple 40 points, multiple 40-point games. He's scored, I believe, at least 30 in all games except for game 4, which he was dealing with back injuries. So that was and nerve damage. That was a scary moment. And that's the thing. Even last year when the Clippers won the series, the Mavericks only lost even while losing Porzingis, even while losing a few of their players. The Mavericks only lost after Luka Doncic was injured on some questionable plays by the Clippers. So it took Luka Doncic playing injured, it took Luka Doncic getting injured for the Clippers to even win that series last year, because before that, Luka was throwing them to the ringer. And now he's doing the same thing this year. And now his supporting cast is healthy. And now Luka Doncic is healthier. He's getting healthier. At least he was, man. The dude scored 40 points, 14 assists, 8 rebounds. I'm going to say it again. 40 points, 14 assists, 8 rebounds just yesterday. So Luka Doncic, we need to put to bed, is Luka the real deal? Luka is the real deal, and he's about to go to the second round. And don't get me wrong, it's going to be difficult. Next game is in Dallas, and the way this series is gone, conventional wisdom would have you think that the Dallas Mavericks are going to lose on their home court, and the Clippers are going to tie it up. It's going to be 3-3 going into a Game 7 in, guess where? You guessed it, LA. Either way, if that trend stays, it still looks good for the Mavs and really bad for the Clippers. But if Kawhi Leonard is who he says he is, if Kawhi Leonard is who we say he is, if Kawhi Leonard is who we believe him to be, Luka wouldn't be dominating like this. Not like this. Sometimes, like Tim Hardaway sometimes contributes, but other than that, nobody on that team is scoring double digits. Luka is sunning the Clippers by himself, and it's not even close. They can't do anything. They can't buy defense on this man. and the best defender in the world, allegedly, is almost never on him. Or if he is, it's on a double team where he subs out in zone. Like, come on. And Ty Lue gave an excuse, right? He gave an excuse as to why Kawhi, wasn't guarding Luka or something. And the excuse was, well, we asked Kawhi to do a lot, and he's tired. He's tired. You are playing for your playoff lives, my friend. Kawhi Leonard is getting paid a lot of money. Kawhi Leonard is the leader of that team. You ask him to be, you got him because he's one of the best defenders in the NBA. And you're telling me you're too scared to ask him to do his job because he's tired. It's the playoffs. He rested enough in the regular season. It's go time. Win or go home. And it might just be the latter for the Clippers in Game 6. Because I honestly, the way Luka's playing, if that injury didn't happen, the series would already be wrapped up. Done. Kawhi would be at home with playoff P, thinking about what went wrong, and we'd all be saying the Clippers are the biggest disappointment in the NBA over the past 2 years. If they lose this series, they are the biggest disappointment over the past 2 years. Everyone wants to say, oh, well, the Lakers, they're about to lose to the Suns, blah, blah, blah. Lakers won a championship last year. They got a ring. I don't see any rings in for the Clippers in LA. How many rings does Paul George have since being in LA? None. How many rings does Kawhi Leonard have since being in LA? None. How many rings does LeBron James and AD have since being in LA? Both have one. If it was just this season, the Lakers would probably be the biggest disappointment. But over the past 2 years, no doubt the Clippers. No doubt the Clippers. And Kawhi, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Kawhi's biggest decision in his life, the worst mistake he ever made, was leaving Toronto behind for the Clippers, because he had it made there. It would have been great. That team would have won, I think, the next year, or at least given the Lakers a huge run for their money the next year. But instead, he chose to go where it's warmer. It's going to be nice and warm, next week when he's going to be on the beach with no basketball left to play. It's going to be really nice. And again, I say this as someone who, I'm still a fan of Kawhi. I still like Kawhi. It's just I don't understand why you're the best player. You're the best defender on your team. Patrick Beverley can't stop Luka. It's been over the past 2 years, he's not been able to stop Luka. So you're the best defender on your team, and you're never on him? Nani? Come on. There's no excuse. There really is no excuse for it. All right, let's move on and talk about this. Ooh, big time Aaron Rodgers news. I've wanted to talk about this for a little bit because I've always been a huge fan of Aaron Rodgers. I've always liked the man's craft. I've always liked the way he's carried himself. I've always liked his attitude towards the game. Aaron Rodgers, before Pat Mahomes came along, in my opinion, Aaron Rodgers was the most dominant, the most talented quarterback in NFL history. Period. That's what he was. Now, Patrick Mahomes there, he's still second, in my opinion, which is a damn good place to be all time, if you ask me. But, we don't have to talk about that today. Let's talk about why we're really here. So, Aaron Rodgers did not report to offseason practices. He did not report to offseason. I messed that up. Aaron Rodgers did not report to OTAs. He did not report to voluntary offseason practices. And this is the first time he's missed offseason practices in his career. This has not happened before. We've seen pictures of him while the OTAs were going on. He was vacationing with his wife, his fiance rather, in Hawaii. And he was having the time of his life. We've known that Aaron Rodgers, since draft day, there's been reports that Aaron Rodgers has told the Packers he wants out. He's done with Green Bay. And that he does not want to be a Packer to start the regular season. The Packers, both Matt LaFleur and Gutekunst, the GM, have gone to California to talk with Aaron, to talk with A-Rod, and try to get him to come back in the building. It has not been successful as of yet. Matt LaFleur just recently said that he hopes that Rodgers will come back, but at the end of the day, it's up to Aaron. And this was interesting. So Aaron Rodgers did an interview on ESPN with Kenny Mayne. It was actually Kenny Mayne's last ESPN appearance, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But he was doing an interview with Kenny Mayne, and he made it clear that his problem and the situation that has happened in Green Bay is not because of Jordan Love. He made that abundantly clear. It has almost nothing to do with Jordan Love. He said, quote, "With my situation, look, it's never been about the draft pick." Rodgers said that the Green Bay decision to select Jordan Love in the NFL draft did not affect him. He said, quote, it's just kind of about philosophy. Maybe forgetting that it is about people that make things go. It's about the character. It's about the culture. It's about doing things the right way. And he went on to say that, and he went on to imply, rather, that, being in the Packers organization, it's kind of felt like more of a corporation as of late. It's felt like maybe people have forgotten that the people who make the machine go, the people who make the Packers go, maybe deserve a little more credit, maybe deserve a little more attention, maybe deserve a little more say in what's going on. And I think that's what it's come down to. I think Aaron is spot on. These are the exact same reasons that I've said that he probably should leave Green Bay, because Aaron Rodgers, honestly, I don't think there's been a more underappreciated piece or quarterback, at least over the past decade, than Aaron Rodgers has been in Green Bay. You can argue Russell Wilson might be up there right now, but I would take Aaron Rodgers, though, because Aaron Rodgers has literally been this team. Like, that's no shaming on whoever has played around him. He's been surrounded by good players. Like, I think Van der Skelding is a good player. I think that Aaron Jones is a good player. I think, Devonta Adams is a really good player. But I will say this. That being said, I do think those players are made better by Aaron Rodgers. I think I don't think, maybe Pat Mahomes, but I don't think anyone else in the NFL improves the supporting cast that they have and optimizes their ability better than Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers elevates all of his teammates to a level that is just astronomically impressive. I think that he has been dealing with, the pressure, the weight of the entire franchise on his shoulders for too long, and we've seen what the Packers have done on their first-round picks. Have not drafted a wide receiver in the first round, have not really gotten him the talent that he really, really needs to go over the top. And the pressure's always on him year in and year out. And he feels like the organization doesn't take his wishes into account, which apparently is true by what he's saying. So, again, anyone who says, well, Aaron Rodgers needs to suck it up and come back, he's given 15 years to this organization. The least they could have done was consult him about Jordan Love. And look, I know he says it wasn't about Jordan Love. It's not about the person Jordan Love. It has nothing rather to do about Jordan Love. But all the weight over the past few years, all of the feeling neglected, all of the feeling like an outsider within your own organization for Aaron Rodgers, all of that combined with picking a quarterback. It's not about Jordan Love. Aaron Rodgers said he likes Jordan Love, and they get along great. But picking a quarterback in the first round, right when your quarterback was about to win MVP again, and then not even consulting him, not having the decency to consult him. Because when Joe Flacco, for those who don't know, is a hero in Baltimore and will be a hero for life. That is guaranteed. Even when Lamar Jackson was drafted, Joe Flacco was told about the decision. When quarterbacks are drafted on teams that have quarterbacks, like Alex Smith was consulted about the Pat Mahomes thing. Like they're talked about. You tell your star player about this if it's happening. So at least they feel within the loop. At least they feel respected enough to be like, okay, I trust where we're going here. At this point, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the respect for the organization, and nor should he. What respect have they given him over the past 15 years? Honestly. This man's, without him, this team, it falls apart. Look at the seasons Aaron Rodgers has been out injured. This team completely disintegrates without Aaron Rodgers. No matter who's at wide receiver, no matter how great the talent is, it completely disintegrates. And it always comes back to Aaron Rodgers. It always is on his shoulders. And honestly, at this point, the fact that he feels underappreciated, the fact that he feels like he needs to leave, who can fucking blame him? That's just facts. And I hope he does go to the Broncos, which is a great team with a good defense and has tons of really, really good young weapons around him that he can take advantage of and I think become an immediate Super Bowl contender on. I genuinely hope that for Aaron Rodgers. I don't hope it for me as a Ravens fan. That's going to suck for me to have to deal with a really good Broncos team. I think the team's going to be OP, but Aaron Rodgers is a damn good player, and I respect him. Like, it's not much else to really think about there, right? So, again, I really hope they do something about him. And then the other question is, what should the Packers do? If you're the Green Bay Packers and you're in this situation right now, you can't go back and change anything, right? You can't go back and say, okay, well, maybe let's not make him feel neglected. Let's make him feel involved in the offense. Let's make him feel involved in decisions. Let's give our star player, who essentially is the only reason we're relevant right now, a say in what's going on. Can't go back and do any of that. Right now, Aaron Rodgers does not want to be on my team. I'm the GM of the Packers. I am going to get a big ass haul for this guy because Aaron Rodgers is the type of player, when he wants out, he's gone. He's gone. I'm gonna, don't get me wrong, I'd still right now, until I trade him, I'm still gonna be trying to mend this relationship. I'm gonna be like give him the keys to my office, my computer, everything if I'm the GM, right? I'm like, because Aaron Rodgers is this franchise. If he goes away, then what are we left with? Blake Bortles and Jordan Love, we haven't even seen in a game. Has not even taken one pass in the NFL. So, yeah, no, you're going to be trying, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to be futile, and you're going to have to get a big haul. 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders. That's what I'd ask for, at least. And, if I'm the Broncos, I don't give a fuck. I'm taking that trade. I am giving you 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders for Aaron Rodgers, and I am immediately becoming a contender for possibly 3 to 4 years to come, because Aaron Rodgers even talked about he wants to play till he's 40. And that team, that nucleus is young. Jerry Jeudy's on a rookie contract. Noah Fant is still on his first deal. Courtland Sutton going into his 3rd year. That would be a dangerous team. Plus that defense. Don't sleep on him. If the Broncos get Aaron Rodgers, do not sleep on them at all. That is going to be a very dangerous team, and you're going to see an Aaron Rodgers that is going to be locked in and loaded and ready for whatever comes his way, including the Kansas City Chiefs and including Patrick Mahomes. Those would be insane games. Just imagine those games. Those are like the primetime games that you really want to see. Like Aaron Rodgers and Pat Mahomes in the same division facing each other twice a year, potentially 3 times if they face in the playoffs. Fucking crazy. That's crazy. And you know what else is crazy? The fact that anyone watching has not subscribed to the channel already. Why don't you guys just take a moment right now, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. You got daily videos every single day. I'm doing this while I change the graphics here so that we get some smooth transition. Probably not so smooth because I'm talking about it. But either way, make sure you guys subscribe. You got daily videos on all things, including sports, football, basketball, wrestling as well. Real Take Wrestle Talk every single Tuesday night at 8 p.m. So be sure to check that out. And let's move on to this. Let's move on to Coach K. This is something I really did want to talk about because, I feel like it deserves our attention. So, Duke Hall of Fame coach Mike Krzyzewski, a.k.a. Coach K, will coach his final season with the Blue Devils in the 2021-2022 season. A source familiar with the situation says it was confirmed today in a press conference at the Duke facility that Mike Krzyzewski will retire after this season. The person said that the former Duke player and associate head coach John Shire will take over as Krzyzewski's successor in 2022-2023. The stadium first reported the news of Krzyzewski's final season with the Duke Blue Devils as he is someone who has led this team to 5 national championships. He is the winningest coach in men's college basketball. This dude, Mike Krzyzewski has coached Team USA in the Olympics. He has done it all, sans the NBA, but he didn't need to. Coach Krzyzewski is someone who commanded respect by just his presence. Like that's how big Coach K is. And I'm saying this as a Maryland fan, in case you can't tell. Like this man right here, he gave me a lot of pain growing up, especially in those Maryland Duke games, which, by the way, were amazing games. He gave me a lot of pain growing up, but man, I can't deny that he was the greatest coach in college basketball history. Coach K is synonymous with college basketball. You cannot tell the story of college basketball. You cannot tell the story of basketball, period, without talking about Mike Krzyzewski. That's how much he's meant to basketball. He's been a mainstay in the sport for decades, 30 years plus. He's been a mainstay. And, for him to retire, everyone has to retire eventually, right? Eventually, all the greats have to. Walsh did it. Belichick's going to have to do it one day. Popovich is going to have to do it one day, But Mike Krzyzewski's retirement, I think, is different because we're seeing literally the greatest coach in the history of college basketball, and that's in that specific sport, leave. That's a momentous moment. It's coming off the heels of Roy Williams announcing his retirement in April, and I think Roy Williams even said something. He said, quote, Mike has been fantastic for the game of basketball. He's been fantastic for college basketball, been fantastic for the ACC, the greatest rivalry in sports, Duke and North Carolina basketball. Wouldn't go that far. But great family man. He's going to enjoy his family a great deal. That was Roy Williams, who mostly said the right things right there in that statement. But yeah, and I think Roy Williams kind of nailed it in the head. Like, he was fantastic for the ACC. He's fantastic for college basketball because he made college basketball, I think, he grew the sport. I think he grew the sport by putting Duke on the map like he did. It grew the sport immensely, and he's been able to develop players into the NBA. Some have worked out, some have not. I'm looking at you, Christian Laettler, but Mike Krzyzewski is also, like I said, he's coached the Olympics. The dude, when NBA players look at a college coach like that and respect him to the degree that they respected Coach K, it just shows you how great of a person he was as well, or he is as well. So that's great. And again, with Roy Williams also retiring, it's weird. It's an era of college basketball that is seemingly just fading away. Coach K is gonna, in 2022, Coach K is gonna be done. There's gonna be no Roy Williams. How soon is it gonna be until Jim Boeheim retires? That's really gonna be it. I think that's gonna be this is already a huge turning point. That's gonna be an insane turning point. You're gonna look around and be like, man, don't recognize like half the ACC. It's gonna be a completely new playing field. It's gonna be a completely new like just new era in college basketball. But yeah, man, Coach K, he has meant so much for the game. And, again, as someone who has been a victim of his amazing coaching, this fucking guy got me to say it. I respect you, Coach K. You are going to be a Hall of Famer, and deservedly so. And the game of basketball, yes, I said it, is better for having had you in it for 30 plus years. So it's the nicest thing you're ever going to hear me say about anyone from Duke. So be happy with that. It's not going to happen ever again. All right. See, I can be nice on this show as well. I've been mean sometimes. I've been very serious, I understand, but I can be nice. We're on graphic. I could be a nice guy. Here we go. This is what I wanted to talk about. Ooh. You gotta drink water first before we start. So, this is actually what I wanted to talk about. Last week, it was reported that Mayne has said goodbye to the worldwide leader in sports. He said goodbye to ESPN after 27 years in the company. ESPN cut Mayne as part of budget cuts that Disney has been doing with their desire to bring in younger on-air talent at a cheaper price. Mayne is someone who has been a mainstay, much like Coach K has been in basketball. He's been a mainstay in just sports talk and in sports and ESPN literally since almost the beginning. He is part of like this great class of ESPN hosts and anchors like Stuart Scott, like himself, like SVP, and all these other guys, like Dan Patrick is another one. Like again, it's just this, I think, signifies the very end of an era in ESPN. Because I think we've already been in the first take era, like where everything is just sports talk and debate, and there's really no highlights anymore. It's all just debate. And Mayne was like the last guy there, one of the last guys there, him and SVP, who were giving you highlights, who were giving you, breakdowns of plays and stuff as anchors, and doing it in such an entertaining way. One of the best things about Mayne was his delivery. Like, it was dry as could be. It was sarcastic, but you couldn't help laugh because Mayne was genuinely one of the funniest guys, and you could tell. He's like, everyone says it. Kenny is like genuinely one of the funniest guys off screen, is what like everyone says. Like on screen, you could totally tell that it shines through. Because he just seems like a jokester. That's all he basically did. He's cracked jokes and he did it in the most serious way possible, which made it even funnier. And that's great. That's great because it makes people invested in what they're seeing. It makes people invested in people like Mayne. Like, I grew up watching Mayne, on SportsCenter. I grew up watching Mayne doing the main event, and his segments on, Sunday NFL Countdown. Like, those were some great segments he would do. He would just do these weird interviews with these obscure athletes, and they would always end on a very like serious tone, but they were always funny and enjoyable and informative, and they captivated you. And even on his last SportsCenter, this was a big deal. His last SportsCenter broke the internet, and deservedly so. Like, everybody was talking about Mayne's last SportsCenter. He had Aaron Rodgers on. He, got a goodbye from John Butchergrass and everyone else. And I just love his delivery of his last line that he ever had on ESPN. It was he was doing an interview with Aaron Rodgers, and it was the interview that I mentioned earlier in my Aaron Rodgers segment. He was telling Aaron Rodgers, he's like, yeah, the last time I talked to you, Aaron, you made me invest in crypto. Now I'm down 40%. Fuck you, Aaron Rodgers. And that's how Mayne went out. And it was perfect. If you watch that and you would watch Mayne before, it was just perfect because this is a guy who has given his entire career to entertaining people and making them care about sports and, building that rapport with the audience. And unfortunately, there's not much of that left on ESPN. There's not much of that left on sports talk in general. I think the most genuine person who delivers sports news these days is Pat McAfee. Like, and I'm talking about like, as his on his show or as a lead anchor or whatever, right? There's always going to be Adam Schefters and Wojs who are more insiders. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about like, people who report stuff and break it down. Pat McAfee has that ability because he's funny, he's genuine. He's not trying to be something he's not. And neither did Kenny Mayne. He never tried to be anything he wasn't. SVP never did. Stuart Scott never did. But everything these days is just so sanitized. It's just so obviously contrived and fake. Like watching First Take, yeah, it's like Stephen A. He's yelling about the Cowboys, great. It's just a show. Like, it's not the same. And I might just be like the older guy being like, "These kids are not the same as I." Like, but it's true. I think that's an agreeable sentiment on everyone. ESPN has not been the same. And you look, the fact that they made Kenny Mayne of all people potentially, they offered him a 60% pay cut. At that point, dude, just don't offer him anything. Be like, we don't have anything for you. That's an insult after 27 years, if we're being honest. That is an insult after 27 years of being one of the best people on the show. It's a genuine insult. And whatever Kenny Mayne does, I hope he does well, and I can't wait to watch what he does. Because Kenny Mayne, legitimately one of the most entertaining people in sports. Period. Man. Now I'm sad. Now I'm really sad. Let's lighten things up here. What are we going to talk about next? Oh, let's talk about the Knicks. Yeah, this is always fun. This is totally going to lighten things up, by the way, me talking about the Knicks. After burying them for the past 2 year on this podcast. But then again, I kind of ate my words this season with how great of a season they had. And they did have a great season. Let's talk about that season. So, this week, the Atlanta Hawks... sorry about that. One second. This week, the Atlanta Hawks eliminated the New York Knicks from the first round of the NBA playoffs. The Knicks were coming off of their best season in almost, I think it was 5-6 years now? Like, for the past 5 years, 6 years, the Knicks have been a laughingstock. The laughingstock of the NBA. Every NBA fan out there that's not in New York was pointing at the Knicks and laughing at them because they were a dumpster fire of an organization, just cycling coaches in and out, just not being able to, put up a product that people wanted to see. There were games where the Garden wasn't full, and that's a big fucking deal for the Garden not to be full all the time. And then, we come to this season, and especially off of last year where they signed Julius Randle, and people were just like, oh man, just bringing in all these power forwards, not even centers, just bringing in multiple power forwards, and hoping that it would make an NBA team, and all this stuff with their owner, who is, in my opinion, the worst owner right now in basketball. Like he can't help but butt into everything, and those are the worst types of owners, especially when they don't know what they're doing and they have a track record that proves they don't know what they're doing. That's stolen. So that's all besides the point. This year, the Knicks made the playoffs as a 4 seed in a year that everybody thought, including myself, thought they were going to be terrible. I thought this team was going to be the shits, picking right down with my Cavs, right in the first few picks of the draft. I thought that's where this team was going to be because they didn't really do much. They drafted Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin wasn't even a big factor in this year. I think the biggest factors in this year, ironically, were Derrick Rose and Taj Gibson. Derrick Rose and Taj Gibson, I think, really, they shined in the most weirdly impactful way this year for the New York Knicks, and I think that's really what helped put them over the top. It didn't hurt that Julius Randle, after everybody was saying how terrible of a pickup he was a few years ago, it didn't hurt that Julius Randle basically won Most Improved Player of the Year, puts up 20 and 10 season. RJ Barrett took a step forward. None of that hurts. And on top of that, you got the leadership that Derrick Rose gives. You have the experience, the points that Derrick Rose gives off the bench. I think Derrick Rose is at least right up there, might even be first place in sixth man of the year. Derrick Rose was Derrick Rose was like, to me, like that X factor that really launched them into this big run that they went on in the season, and being the 4th seed. I think Derrick Rose was like the big X factor in this. And Taj Gibson, who knew? Who fucking knew, right? Like, so big ups to him. But this team, man, I have to give them props to where it is. I did not expect them to even sniff the playoffs, even the play-in tournament. Did not expect them to sniff. They were at the 4th seed. I was proven wrong. But that being said, they have now been eliminated from the playoffs. And the question is, was this season a success? Of course it was. It was 100% a success. Anyone who says it wasn't is just lying to themselves. This was not a failure in any means. I know there are a few Knicks fans who might think that, like, oh man, we could have gone to the second round. Like, you could have, but you wouldn't have gotten past the Nets, being honest. But that being said, what should they do from here is, I think, the question that's on the minds of all Knicks fans and all fans who are paying attention to what's going on. What they should do from here, I think, is build off of what they have. Yeah. I think that's a consensus, right? Build off of what you have. But you need to be ready in the next 2 years to add another star. And I'm not talking about, a complimentary piece. I'm talking about a fucking, like, number one. Like, you need that X factor, that whether it's Kawhi potentially, which I don't know because he's gotten out, I think, after next year. But that being said, that's going to be a thing. There's a few players like the KD Kyrie situation might change. Who knows what's going on there? But there's a lot of players who are up. But you need someone who's going to come in there and be the primary ball handler, who's going to be consistently scoring. Because right now, they don't have that person. Like Julius Randle can put up 20 and 10. Apparently not in the playoffs, but he can do that for you. But he's not like going to be the person you go to when you're down by 5 with 2 minutes to go. You need someone who's going to come in and score. You need someone who's going to control the ball and put up points and take it upon themselves to be the guy. RJ Barrett, I think, has the ability to be a great player. I don't think he's going to be a number one. And that's just what I've seen. He's shown the ability to score in spurts. Just have not seen the consistency. I have not seen I don't want to say ability, because I've seen the ability to do it. It's just I don't think he's going to develop into being that person. I think he's going to be a solid number 2. I think Julius Randle can be a solid number 2 or an elite number 3. But they need a number 1 if they want to do anything. Like, unless they're fine with being a second round revolving door over the next few years, if Knicks fans are fine with that, that's whatever. But they're not going to win a championship with this core unless they add someone. They're just not going to win a championship. That is truth. That is gospel. Take it to the bank. And if they do, we'll eat my hat. But it's not going to happen because of the way the NBA is structured these days. It's very, very rare that, a team without multiple superstars wins. The Raptors, you could say, might have been an exception. But even the Raptors, like, all that talent, like, that was some great talent, some great young talent with Van Vliet, Siakam, with Lowry, who you could argue in that year was their number 2. Kyle Lowry had a great postseason. It was Kawhi's team, Kawhi was number 1, but that was Kyle Lowry's team, and he really decided, where the ball went in a lot of times. So you could say they might be the exception. Before that, it's Dirk. Before that, it's Dirk Nowitzki's team in Dallas that won in 2011. So it doesn't happen often, and odds are it's not going to happen for a long time. And I don't see the Knicks being that team to do it. They need to find a way to get someone else on this team. And, I know there's rumors about potentially Chris Paul after this year coming over. Yeah, maybe. Or he might choose to stay in Phoenix because the Suns look like they're about to beat the Lakers. So look, there's a few ways you could go. I just think if you're serious about winning, if you're serious about winning a championship, which every fan should be, you gotta go out there and you gotta get a number one. That's imperative. That is crucial, because otherwise you're just gonna be a revolving door every year in the second round, and that's fine. If you're fine with that, that's okay. But it's not going to make. I don't think it's going to make the fans any more satisfied. It's just going to make, I think, people just. It's going to be bitter. It's going to make you bitter. I would understand that. Trust me. Like, I would be mad too, right? But that's what I think. So we'll just take it from there. Let's move on and talk about this news that I thought was really interesting today. The USFL is coming back and returning in the spring of 2022. Let's talk about it. The first incarnation of the United States Football League failed after 3 seasons when the league tried to move games into the fall in 1986. But plans to relaunch the league were announced on Thursday. The Spring League founder and CEO Brian Woods has partnered with Fox Sports to bring the league back as an 8-team operation that will play in the spring of 2022. He said, quote, in a statement, quote, "I'm extremely passionate about football, and the opportunity to work with Fox Sports to bring back the USFL in 2022 was an endeavor worth pursuing. We look forward to providing players a new opportunity to compete in a professional football league, giving fans everywhere the best football viewing product possible during what is typically a period devoid of professional football." In addition to broadcasting games, Fox Sports is also a minority as partner and minority owner, essentially, in the league. So, question is, what do we think about this? I think it's interesting, right? It's interesting. I don't think it's necessarily bad. And I think overall it's a good sentiment. I like more football, if you ask me. I will say this. If we're talking about the USFL versus the XFL, I much rather prefer what I saw from the XFL last year. Because the XFL 2020 was amazing. Like, that was... I know the ratings actually, like, they stagnated a little bit, but they were still pretty good considering, off-season sports and like live sports, especially during that time. Those are still pretty good ratings for those XFL games. Like, I think they were hitting about, between 750 to 1 million, which is great. I think even their last few games, they were still getting 1 million, which is still great. Anyway, but the XFL, I think, had a lot of momentum, and obviously COVID ruined a lot of that. And I think there is an appetite. There is 100% an appetite for spring football, especially in 2022, coming off this pandemic. There's an appetite to want to cheer, and hopefully the USFL can bring some teams to some local markets and really make a go of this thing and make it successful. I hope for its success. I hope it doesn't emulate anywhere near what the what was it, the AAF did. The AAF was a train wreck. And I think the reason it won't end up like the AAF, I don't know what the deal is with Fox, but if Fox is behind it, I can promise you this. They're at least going to finish the season, barring, fingers crossed, knock on wood, barring, another pandemic. I think that they're going to at least finish the season. So we're going to see it play out, because Fox is just going to put money into it and make sure it at least finishes what they started. But the AAF didn't have that, obviously, because they were running off of, good faith on some people, and that good faith didn't really turn out well. The reason the XFL last year was so great and lasted so long, and actually definitely would have finished their season sans COVID, is because they had a backing of Vince McMahon, who's a real billionaire, who was funneling money to make sure it was a success until it, closed because of COVID. But I'm excited. I'm excited about the USFL because I'm excited for all football. The interesting thing is the XFL is planning on coming back in 2022 with The Rock at the helm. And on top of that, the XFL is teaming up with the CFL, and they're partnering with the CFL to potentially, have some sort of an agreement there. So that's going to be interesting to see. With Fox having the agreement, with the USFL and the CFL and the XFL having an agreement, it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. And one thing we know, the XFL brand itself, the XFL brand is strong right now, because I know personally a lot of DC Defenders fans, they're still waiting. They're waiting for the time they get their team. I think there's a lot of appetite in those markets that the XFL was in. And I think the USFL should actually take an approach where they go to markets where either the XFL won't be in 2022, like return to those markets, or go to markets that we know are hungry for football, but there's no leagues in. And I think you can accomplish that. You can accomplish that, and the USFL can have a place. And who knows? This might even work its way into being, another like a mini, AFL, NFL kind of thing, where the Super Bowl, like their version of the Super Bowl, is the USFL champions versus the XFL champions. That would be cool. That would be freaking cool. A spring league championship. Book it. Make it happen, Rock. What's this guy's name? What's his guy's name? Brooks or whatever. Brian Woods. Rock, make it happen. Let's make it happen. I want to see the XFL champion versus the USFL champion to crown the mini bowl, the junior bowl, whatever you want to call it, the spring bowl. There we go. I love that. I love that. Let's do that. Make it a thing. I like that. I like talking football. All right, let's keep this moving. Let's keep it going. What are we going to talk about? Oh, I know what we're going to talk about next. Oof, I know exactly what we're talking about next, and it's honestly it could have been better. Could have been better. Just give me a second while I set this up, because trust me, you're not gonna want to miss this. This was something I thought was freaking ridiculous, just ridiculous the way fans are acting these days. I mean, it's just I can't believe what's going on with fans these days. They let us out of the house. They let us out of the house just a little bit, and we just started fighting all over the place. And baseball fans of all people, shame on you. Man, fans are out of control, whether it's the NBA, the MLB. They're just out of control. I think someone needs to sit down with some of these fans and have some sort of an intervention or something, because, man, can we not handle ourselves at these games. So, oh, man, for those who have not seen it, or for those who are not aware of what's been going on, there has been a lot of fighting at these games. I'm just pulling up the clip real quick, so just bear with me here. But there has been a shit ton of fighting at some of these games. Having trouble finding it. Hold up. There we go. Okay. We're good on that. Yeah. All right. So we should be good. But here we go. So at a Dodgers and Houston Rockets game, as you can see right here, there's the fan fight. There was a huge fan fight broke out. Well, not huge. It was between these, I think, four people. You can see different angle right here. The Dodgers fan just wailing on this poor Houston Astros fan. And, his wife got involved as well. Look at this, though. If you look closer, you can see right above the bar where this woman was, where this woman just came in the frame, the daughter, the little child, you'll see right there, when this clip comes back around, the daughter of the Dodgers fans, who the Dodgers fans have left, is sitting there crying, embarrassed at the behavior of her parents. She's sitting there just crying. And I would be too, not just because I'm a Dodgers fan, but man, that is embarrassing. Like, look at this. They were just wailing on this poor dude. And, man, fans, we got to be better. We got to be better than this. Like, look at this. Unnecessary. I don't care. Okay, look. I understand, like, fans, the tensions are high. You're watching a game. But come on. Come on. Don't take it on the Astros fans. We get it. The Astros fucked up. I understand. I rant about that all the time. But come on. The fans, no, don't take it out on the fans. Don't take it out on the fans. The players are the ones we should be chanting at. The players are the ones we should be throwing inflatable trash cans at, not the fans. Come on. In this one instance, I'm not for throwing anything at players otherwise. Actually, don't throw them at the players. If you're going to throw an inflatable trash can, throw it on the field So the players get the message. Do not throw it at the players. My mistake. But regardless, man, like we recently, what's been going on in the NBA, like all those terrible incidences of fans saying stuff, spitting at Trae Young. Now all these baseball fights that we're getting. We had a big one a few weeks ago with the Rockies fan. Man, we're out of control. They let us out of the house. They let us out of the house, and this is how we react. Man, stop behaving like children. I get it. We're fans. We've got all this, pumped up like, emotion and whatever. But just be better. Like, what is this? Come on. Did you go to this game thinking you'd be plastered all over the internet? Well, guess what you are. So we need to stop. And whatever. Look, I promise you that Houston fan, he probably said something. Probably should not have. Dodgers fans definitely overreact. They should not have been wailing on him like that. He's defenseless at that point. Any common sense referee would have broken up that UFC fight. That is like, okay, right there. Oh, he's defenseless. Like, let him go. Come on. And he still wants more. Come on, guy. You won. Don't condone this behavior at all. Needs to be better. We got to be better. And we got to know when to stop. Like, come on. You punched him. He was down. He was defenseless. Just let it go. It's not that big a deal. You don't need to be wailing on this guy. And then you got his partner involved. And then, the other fans are getting involved. Like, hey, come on. We don't need to involve other people. They're children. There's literally your child. Literally. Let's see if we can see it. Literally. If you frame it right there, you'll see the child right there crying. Your child is there, man. Got to set a better example than this. Like, we gotta be better. We have to be really fucking better than this. Like, this is just oof behavior. All right, I think we're coming down to the wire. I'm coming down to the wire on as much as I can deliver. Let's go to my final takes today. What do I got on my final takes? That's a good question. Ooh, I do have one other thing that I want to at least talk about. So while I get that ready, let me just remind you to, if you haven't already, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. We got daily videos every single day. That's why I said daily. And got them about a whole hell of a lot of topics, ranging from NBA, NFL, now USFL, WWE as well. So be sure to check that out. Subscribe to the channel, man. And let me know. Let me hear from you and what you guys want to hear. So this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. And this is something that I've wanted to talk about, since I saw it. I saw this earlier today. Usually I try not to talk about politics, right? I try very hard not to talk about politics on this show. But Fox News made me do it. And I promise you, this is not about politics. This is more so about sports, but this just happens to be in a weird political setting. But let me just break it down for you. So Fox News did this segment that I saw, and it involved LeBron James, and it was a sports segment. So before anyone says, "Oh, you're about to talk about politics," blah, 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 not going to be talking about politics. It just happens to be on Fox Sports, or on Fox News. So Fox News did this segment. They brought in Clay Travis from the Outkick, who, as everyone knows, is allegedly a sports analyst or a sports commentator. But you were talking about LeBron James when he walked out of the game where the Lakers were down by 30 points with 5 minutes to go. So they were talking about that. Let's just take a listen to what they had to say there. Anyone who was just watching this definitely was very confused when I just played that. Everyone who was just watching was very confused. I apologize. That was my technical difficulty that I mistake. I made a mistake there. All right, let's try to do this one more time. Hopefully I get this right. See, this is what happens when I'm by myself. This is what happens when I don't have Johnny to help me. All right, let's see. Make sure that's all in the right place. I think it is. All right, so let's take it from here. So I'll just take it from the top because fuck it, whatever. My show, I'm gonna redo it. So Fox News aired this segment where they had Clay Travis on, who was an alleged sports analyst, a sportscaster, whatever, and they were talking about sports. I want to preface this. There's no politics involved in this. It's just sports. It was just something annoying that I saw. It just happened to me on Fox News. And they were talking about this incident where LeBron James, he walked off the court of the playoff game against the Suns with 5 minutes to go when the team was down by 30. So let's just take a quick listen to that.
Stir on social media and other places by leaving the court early, 5 minutes early, during a. Or LeBron James causing a stir on social media and other places by leaving the court early, 5 minutes early, during a blowout loss to the Phoenix Suns in Game 5 of their best-of-7.
Sports commentator Skip Bayless slamming the early exit on Twitter, writing, quote, "Here we go again. The drama king leaves the bench. Guess he doesn't want to be associated with this shame." And a fan replying in part, quote, "Once again, LeBron James makes it all about himself."
Here to react, founder of Outkick.com, Clay Travis. He's a part of the Fox News family as well now. Clay, I got to be honest with you. What is the beef here? Because he leaves when they're winning sometimes. He leaves when they're losing sometimes.
He's in a rush. He's got to beat traffic.
So what is it?
Well, when you're losing by 30 points and it's a signature game, and LeBron does always seem to make it about himself in general, I think it's LeBron often wants the credit, but he doesn't ever really want the blame. And if you remember, the last time he lost in the playoffs, remember when they lost to the Warriors and he had ended up punching the wall after that awful decision by his teammates not being able to get a shot off at the end of the game? He got his cast put on, guys, before he went to talk to the media. So he had just played an entire series without a cast on, and then he gets a cast put on his wrist in the 10 minutes before he goes to talk to the media so everybody can see, oh, he wasn't 100% and there's some sort of excuse.
Stir on.
Again, I fucked up here. So let me just restart this. Let me address that last point that Clay Travis made. Let me address that point first. So I remember that 2018 series that LeBron had against the Golden State Warriors. It was the NBA Finals 2018. And I just remember when this happened. Clay Travis says that, oh, LeBron made it all about himself. LeBron made it all about himself. He went out and he put a cast on and he made sure the media saw. That was after he'd played 3 games with a fractured hand, with a broken fucking hand. This is after LeBron had already played 3 games with a broken hand. And he didn't mention it once in those 3 games. It happened after game 1. He played game 2, played game 3, played game 4, got swept. That happened. Bad team, right? And what ended up happening was they lost. They were eliminated. They lost the finals. The Warriors won the championship. So LeBron's sitting here with a broken hand, knowing he's had a broken hand for basically a week. He says, all right, I'm going to go face the media. Dude, tape me up first. I'm done. Like, any sensible person in that moment would have been like, dude, just tape me up first. Like, I'm done playing basketball. I don't need to fake it anymore. Not once also. Again, I'm going to emphasize this. LeBron, not once did he mention the fact that he had this injury in any of the days preceding this. So, that point is just, he's just capping. He's just trying to make, make noise. He's trying to make headlines, whatever, right? Number 2, LeBron James is a legend. Arguably the greatest player in NBA history. In my opinion, he's top 5 right now. Could go up if he wins another one. But when people say, "Oh, LeBron's the GOAT," I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that opinion. Because the dude's going to retire. He's going to end up retiring with most of the records. He's going to end up retiring with all of the playoff records. He's going to end up retiring, who knows, after the next few years. He might end up retiring with 6 rings and more appearances in the finals than Jordan. LeBron James, at this point in his career, has earned the right to, if his team is down by 30, there's no way he's going to win. Dude, if LeBron walks off the court, unless his teammates have a problem with it, unless his teammates have a problem with him walking off the court in a game that everyone knows they're not going to win, they're the ones who are allowed to have a problem with it. If we have a problem with that, it's not a serious point. His team's not going to win. Unless his teammates came out or his teammates told him, "LeBron, I have a problem with you walking off the court." That's when LeBron should address it. Otherwise, it's nothing. It's just cap so that Clay Travis can make LeBron look bad, so that Fox News can make LeBron look bad. Because that's what they want, right? That's the narrative they want to spin. And again, whatever you feel about LeBron as a person, his politics, aside. You can say those things about him, right? And it has nothing to do with what you're talking about in a sports sense. But Clay Travis has been covering sports for a long time. You would think he would know these simple things, right? Like, this isn't just like a rookie walking off. This is LeBron fucking James. He owns that team. I don't care. Any team LeBron is on, he's the player, he's the coach, he's the GM. He's everything to that franchise he's on in that moment. So yes, he can do that. Like, this isn't like if LeBron had opted out of a shot at the end of a game, which could potentially have won the game, I would have had a massive problem with that. And you would have been right to criticize him for that. If LeBron had berated one of his teammates extensively, I would have understand going after him for that. But walking off at the end of a game that they're going to lose anyway when he's the superstar of the team, you're just reaching. And that's the unfortunate part. Come on, it's not. There's a million things you actually could criticize LeBron for. But no, you choose to go for the low-hanging fruit. The fruit that's so low-hanging you planted it like 6 months ago. Like, get over it. Anyway, hope you guys liked this episode. Sorry about technical difficulties. This is what happens when I'm by myself and I don't have other people with me to distract me and fill time. But I would manage to fill like an hour and a half of your time. So thank you for everyone who joined me. Thank you guys for listening. This has been Real Take Sports Talk. Hopefully someone else will join me again. If not, I will have all the technical errors filled out and ready to go by next week. So in the meantime, I'll see you guys next time. Real Take Sports Talk. Yeah.